Good morning, everyone. Welcome to everybody in Zoom land. Hi, I'm Katie Boskoff, your service associate today. I want to welcome everyone to our Sunday worship service of Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. It's really sad that we've had to take a step backwards and have a Zoom-only meeting today just because the COVID numbers got a little high. So let's hope that we can get back in person sometime soon. It's just so weird to be in the sanctuary, but here we have the participants, Patrick on the video, Tyler on Zoom control, Reverend Tom with me, and Mary is in her office. So the five of us are here live and in person, bringing the service to you at home. As always, we're recording the service, but we will turn the recording off before our community gathering. And now, to help us enter the spirit of worship, let's calm our hearts and minds and turn our attention to our pianist, Barbara, who is Zooming from home. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning. And for our prelude, I will be playing Dreaming by Amy Beach, who wrote this in 1892. And she was really the first woman to really achieve a lot of recognition for her composition during her lifetime, although she was also quite a fine pianist. And her husband, during the time where he was alive, forbade her to play publicly. But as soon as he passed away, she resumed her pianist career. So.
Thank you, Barbara. That was lovely. Welcome again to everyone to the Sunday morning worship service of Summit UU Fellowship. We are a liberal religious community bound together by shared principles drawn from world religions, humanist teachings, nature and science, philosophy, and personal practices. We are a religion of love and inclusion. We aspire to the principles and purposes that are listed in the order of service. The mission of Summit is to commit ourselves to building a more compassionate, just, and sustainable world. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism or to Summit and would like to know more about us, we invite you to go to our website, summituuf.org, click on the visitors button, and fill out our online connection card, and someone will follow up with you. As always, we want to acknowledge that our fellowship resides on unceded Kumeyaay land, and that for more than 10,000 years, this land has been and continues to be home to the Kumeyaay people. We recognize the violent history of colonization in California and honor the legacy of the continuing presence of the Kumeyaay Nation. This morning, our president, Eleanor Weed, has a few announcements, and she will be joining us from the woods. Good morning, Eleanor.
Good morning. Thank you, Katie. I wanted to give you all a final update on the pledge drive. We are just $9,000 away from matching our current pledge levels for this year, which is fantastic. If you are in the range of my voice and you have not already submitted your pledge, please do so as soon as possible. To make it easy for you, there's a link in the virtual order of service. I want to give a special thanks to the volunteers that have served as pledge stewards this year. To Barbara Scheidecker, Dan Hand, Ed Henry, James Park, Pam Williams, Rin Corbet, and Sandy Bernstein, as well as our board members, Serafina Galante, Sally Jackson, and Yanni Pedersen. Thank you all. Secondly, in case you did not see my email yesterday, I wanted to let you know that our office administrator, Linda Peck, is retiring at the end of this month, which is just days away. Linda has been with us for almost 20 years. Next Sunday, we will honor her during the service, and then we will have a parking lot reception for her following. Please watch for more details in the coming days, and we hope you will join us for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. So I guess, as she says, watch for the e-news, because we don't know at this point whether we'll be having an in-person service or a Zoom service only, but I'm assuming that whatever we have, that the parking lot reception will still happen in the parking lot, right? So stay tuned. More information will be coming forth this week. I am delighted to share the pulpit this morning with Reverend Tom Owentoll, who really needs no introduction, as we've had him here so many times, and every time it's a wonderful experience. Tom was my minister for 20 years, and I still consider him my minister and my good friend, and I'm delighted to have him here today. We are so glad you have all chosen to worship with us today. Join us for time of connection and reflection, and I invite you to stay after the service, where we will have a chance to ask questions of our speaker or share a joy or concern with the larger group. So moving on, I invite Reverend Tom to come up and light our chalice as I share with you the words of Cynthia Landrum. As we kindle this flame, may it spark in each of us connection and commitment to this living tradition and to each other. And now let us join together and sing while muted our UU hymn in both English and Spanish to reflect the multilingual culture of our region.
De todos bajo el gran sol, sur esperanza, fe, amor, verdad y belleza cantando de cada tierra, cada voz.
From all who
Please join with me in saying our UU aspiration. May love be the spirit of this fellowship. May the quest for truth be its sacrament, and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. And this morning, Mary Carter Vale is coming to us live and in person from her office. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning. It's actually not my office. It is my the RE classroom space that I'm coming to you live from. So good morning, everyone. We have no children back here today, but at 12 noon, we're going to have our parking lot RE like we used to have before we had folks back in the sanctuary. So families are invited to come and join us at 12 noon in the parking lot, where we're going to be exploring, nurturing the beauty inside each of us. And we're going to make these daily affirmation jars, which will be really fun. But I have a story for you today. And I want to know, what's a covenant? Anybody know what a covenant is? So you can discuss this with your families or with your individuals. I see some hands going up. Some folks know the answers. But I wanted to talk to you about what a covenant is today. And this came to mind because last weekend, I was up at Camp de Bonneville Pines for the 60th anniversary celebration weekend, where I helped as part of the counselor training team. And I learned to play a new game. Have you ever learned a new game? I learned how to play spoons, which I'd never played. I've seen it played, but I haven't played it. And it is a rough and tumble game, I'll tell you. It's not what did my wrist in though. So that happened before spoons. But playing spoons, we were all sitting around the table and they're teaching me. There's like, I'd say 8 people teaching me how to play this game. And everybody had different rules. Like there were some really consistent rules, but there was like, oh, do you play this way? Or do you play that way? And so we had to sort of discuss that before we started to come up with the rules for what the game was that we were going to play. And I thought about that afterwards. And that's kind of like what a covenant is. We had to agree together on what we were going to do in order to have a good time together. And, you know, having the rules agreed upon before you play a game makes the game way more enjoyable, even though I lost. It was just so much fun. And we had all settled on this. And a covenant is an agreed way to be in community together. So our congregation fellowship has several covenants that were created to support all of us. And we use them to participate joyfully in spiritual community together. One of which is the covenant of care, which is one of the things that guides us when COVID rates go up like they are right now. And that's what we're using today, and why we're not in person in the sanctuary. So we are guided by 7, now 8 principles of Unitarian Universalism. And you can see the 8 principles. Our kids made this wonderful poster, which is hard to read from here. So I'll read some of them for you so you can see. But that poster back there is that when we adopted the 8th principle as a fellowship, our kids made this poster for us back here. And these agreements, we aspire to them, right? We might not hit them on the mark every single time, but that is a spiritual practice to work to try to be behaving in this way in community. So I have my Chalaka box, which has all 8 of them on it. I thought I'd just quickly read them for you. These are simple language. The full covenant in more expanded language is on the back of your order of service or in the digital order of service that you should have received with the link for this service today. So 1 is each person is important. 2, be kind in all you do. 3, we're free to learn together. 4, and search for what is true. 5, all people need a voice. 6, build a fair and peaceful world. 7, we take care of the earth. And 8, build a beloved community free from racism and oppression. So those are that is the covenant of the Unitarian Universalist covenant that this fellowship is currently working with. And it's not easy to live in those things. You know, sometimes when you're driving, I've said this before, sometimes when you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off and you get kind of, and you forget that they have inherent worth and dignity. We call that a first principle challenge. That happens. So sometimes you fall out of covenant, like something might happen that you get frustrated with and you forget about inherent worth and dignity, as I did when a driver cuts me off. And then you have to just take a breath and reaffirm what is important to me, and rather than being reactionary. So I reaffirm what's important to me, and I move back into being in covenant with myself, with my personal beliefs, and the community that I am with. So this is a covenant that our classroom made. So we have a current all ages RE program, and this is the covenant that they made together at the beginning of this session. And this is, they wear masks to take care of each other. They stay home if they're sick. We be kind in action and words. We have fun and participate. We take turns leading and following. We pay attention. We always try our best. We stay close and be safe. This is because we're in a parking lot. And we respect the materials that we get to use and play with and explore. So when you think about a covenant, think about how you are in relationship with it. And also, did you know you can make a covenant for your household? So be you a family of 1 or a family of 8, you can make a covenant for everybody who shares your household. So I hope you have a little deeper understanding of what a covenant is and helps you to lean more into the covenants that you have in your life, be they rules for a game or how you are in your spiritual community. Thank you for listening today, and I appreciate all of you being willing to adapt as we need to stay in covenant and keep each other well. So that's my story for you today.
Thank you, Mary. Our opening words this morning are those of Reverend Judith Walker Riggs. Since the universe always changes, the truth about it must change. So I need not be ashamed or terrified when my own religious vision changes. It'll just be me being part of the universe. Could the universe itself in all its changing teach us that security lies not in stasis, but in process? Now we will enjoy our first video, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Before I share the reading for this morning, I would invite us into some moments of silent communion, soaking in tears of sadness and anger and hope in response to the senseless, racist killings in Buffalo, New York, and Laguna Woods, California, in Laguna Woods, a mile away from our Tapestry Unitarian Universalist congregation, which has been responding and supporting the members of that Taiwanese Presbyterian church. There's a time for prayer. There's a time for protest. There's a need for policy changes and program shifts, and most of all, for righteous perseverance. Let us join together in some moments of silence. Shalom, salam, ashe, namaste, blessed be, and amen. The reading I've selected comes from Stanley Kunitz, an American poet laureate who lived to the age of 100, and it's titled The Layers. It's about making peace with loss and summoning all of us to keep going in spite of sorrow and tragedy, and to focus on what's important, necessary, true, and compassionate, because we are never finished. We're always evolving human creations. The Layers by Stanley Kunitz. I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was, though some principle of being abides, from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I am compelled to look before I can gather strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn, exulting somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I need to go, and every stone of the road precious to me. In my darkest nights, when the moon is covered and I roam through the wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directs me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Live in the layers, not on the litter. And though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. For I am not done with my changes. I am not done with my changes.
We are a fellowship supported entirely by the voluntary generosity of our members and friends, and we greatly appreciate our faithful pledgers who keep up their monthly contributions. If you are moved to make a contribution today, we encourage you to do so. It's easier than ever now to contribute to our virtual plate. The link can be found in the chat box, and it will take you directly to the donation location. And now we will gratefully accept your generous donations during the musical interlude.
This is the Jamaican Dance No. 2 by Jamaican composer Oswald Russell, who is a pianist and composer, and weaves in traditional music and jazz and his training in classical music to his performances.
I want to start by giving thanks to our worship teammates. Barbara, thank you for tickling the ivories so exquisitely. Mark Weedman, who's on the grounds out there. Patrick and Tyler, our Zoom specialists. Mary Carter Vale, you have a premier director of religious education here. And Katie Boskoff. Folks, if I were starting a UU congregation from scratch, she'd be one of my early choices to be on the team. And I want to also pay homage to Linda Peck. I was here when she started 20 years ago. She has been a steadfast servant of Summit UU Fellowship through good and bad times. Always a caring presence, reliable, faithful presence. Thank you, Linda, for all your loving service to Summit Fellowship. Now, I can't see you today, and I'm here, a couple others on the team, in the sanctuary, but you're in my hearts. And there'll be a time soon when we're all together. It's no surprise to any card-carrying member of Summit that institutional religion in general and Unitarian Universalism in particular are currently struggling in terms of membership and money, morale, and plus a shrinking inventory of parish ministers. For example, a colleague of ours who mentors students at Star King School for the Ministry told me that not a single one of his mentees is interested in congregational service. They're all seeking upon graduation some form of entrepreneurial, community-based ministry. Folks, if this trend continues, then I truly wonder what will happen to institutional religion and parish ministry as we know it. Will there be anything resembling the quest to grow and sustain local beloved communities on specific sites, such as Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or will they fade out of relevance? I don't know. None of us does. I'm simply concerned as a veteran parish minister of 55 plus years about the sustainable future of traditional congregational life. However, what calms my soul somewhat is the recognition that ours remains a religion of evolution. Of course, we hold a variety of central convictions such as universal love, radical diversity, and resolute hopefulness, but no doctrine is more crucial to our 2022 faith condition than semper reformanda, always changing and being changed. The cornerstone of our progressive, literally our forward-moving theology is evolution. It constitutes the way we do religion, be it our organization or our philosophy, our activism, or our eschatology, the science of last things. And so it's recounted that during the great debate of the 16th century Transylvania, folks scoffed at Francis David for being so changeable. Look at this David, they taunted. He starts out Roman Catholic, then he becomes a Lutheran, then a Calvinist, and now he calls himself a Unitarian. What will he conceivably be tomorrow? To which David is reported to have said, semper reformanda, or always reforming. Perpetually growing in his theology, David became a proponent of religious forbearance for all folks, an utterly radical position in the 16th century Western world. His witness of respectful inclusion sets the mission for Summit's behavior moving ahead into the unknown. In those days, friends, religion was a matter of life and death, and in some sense it still is, with formal debates being held regularly, in this specific case, between a defender of the Trinity, Peter Melius, and the advocate of the unity of God, Francis David. And their fierce dispute lasted for 10 days, starting at 5 a.m. each morning. Now, placed in perspective, 6 a.m., I'm an early riser, is the time I mount the day for a modest stretch and shower, then taking out trash and cleaning up the yard perhaps before breakfast, but hardly bounding up to engage in theological discourse. It took 2 days merely to establish the ground rules for the Melius-David confrontation. And before the contest, Melius boldly said to David, "If I win this debate, you will be executed." And David calmly retorted, "And if I win this debate, you and everyone else in this land will be given the religious freedom and tolerance due every human being." What an earth-shaking variance in theology, one desperately needed today, when dogmatism and bigotry create massive and monstrous social, political, racial, and religious divisions in our own homeland. Fortunately, David won, and many were converted to Unitarianism, including John Sigismund, the king who immediately issued the Western world's first edict of religious toleration in 1568. In addition to Semper Reformanda, David also preached not to think alike, but to love alike. Not to think alike, but to love alike. And so abiding, evolving love, not an unbending creed, evolving love was the reigning principle of our Unitarian roots and continues to be until this very day. And so can you and I, as committed Summitarians, pledge to abide by this historical decree as we struggle with our own modern-day moral and morale challenges. Can we? You bet we can. We can do hard. We can do the difficult. But only if we stay awake, stay at the table, stay open-hearted, stay inclusive, stay compassionate. The doctrine of Semper Reformanda still remains our lodestar. The full Latin phrase, Ecclesia Reformata et Semper Reformanda, means the church reformed and ever needing to be reformed. And this mandate pertains both to individuals and communities, matters of belief and behavior, theology and social justice. And furthermore, it challenges us to be recipients as well as makers of change. And that's critical because it's often a lot easier, isn't it, to make external rather than internal changes. In short, we're summoned to be bilateral in our evolutionary growth, always changing and being changed until we enter our graves, and then who knows what changes await us. You and I are charged to become steadfast stewards. Literally, a steward is a caretaker of the house. Stewards of the well-being of our chosen communities. We're required to stay generous of our time and talent and treasure. And more than that, and this is where bravery really kicks in, to be willing to pass Summit on to future stakeholders when our life reaches completion. Our religion, you see, contends that all reality is arising and disappearing, unfolding and advancing, and so are we humans. Semper Reformanda. And so our primary role on earth and in this community, Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, is to be neither closed nor empty-minded, but open-minded, ever evolving, to acknowledge that every hour holds some deepening claim some corrective slant, some improbable surprise. And we're not limited by past mistakes or present prejudices. We're born over and over and over again, not just once or twice. And then we die somewhere in the middle of the voyage, waiting for the mysterious unknown to reveal itself. And so in these ominous and harrowing days, may we never forget that we are renewable creations and that we belong to a springy venture, not a static enterprise. The interdependent web of all existence is permeable and fluid. Semper reformanda. Our religion is anchored to no historical single era, no particular guru, no set behavior, no solitary pledge, but linked to countless events and persons and deeds and scriptures. And furthermore, the profundities of our Unitarian Universalist life emerge gradually, often with difficulty and pain. So my siblings, stay daring and sharing and caring. Stay present and accountable. Regularly renew your vow to become an indomitable and fierce steward of Summit. Be a part of, no, a full-fledged partner in this outpost of our living tradition. And never forget that our brand of religion isn't easy and comfy. As colleague Alma Crawford remarks, in our religion, discomfort, like prayer, fasting, journaling, dance, and yoga, discomfort is a spiritual discipline. So welcome to doing hard. So as we face grueling worldwide warfare and relentless bigotry, as well as congregational challenges, as Summitarians and on into seasons beyond counting, may we live on the layers, not on the litter. May we observe the Hindu salutation, Namaste. I honor that which is divine in you, or that place where you and I are one. May we treat one another with utmost respect, which simply means to look at something or someone again and again. Respectful Summitarians will be those who look again at what is easily ignored or missed. We will look again at outworn, debilitating patterns and consider developing new attitudes and behaviors. We will look again at our own motives before casting judgment on others. We will look again and again into one another's eyes and say, you and I are equally worthy creations. I hold you in the highest regard. Your time, your tasks, your needs, your choices, your capacities, and your identities are as significant as mine and will be treated as such in our relationship as we build, as we cross, as we repair the bridge we cradle in common. Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And always remember, friends, that PC for Unitarian Universalists never refers to political correctness. Never has and never will. PC refers instead to our flawed yet persistent efforts to be personally compassionate, pluralistically conscious, and prophetically courageous. And so we imperfect Unitarian Universalist pilgrims commit to our core principle, Semper Reformanda, always reforming and being reformed all our days and nights. we move relentlessly forward toward the growing of a beloved community where we're planted, here on Cottonwood. And by the way, next time you're here, the jacarandas are gorgeous. Here, planted on Cottonwood, or wherever we might eventually land. One of our first UU church members during Carolyn's and my 24 years there of co-ministry, at the age of 92, put it this way: hey, Tom, I'm constantly evolving, open to new ideas and new choices. It's no surprise, since I'm not the same person I was last month. In the seasons ahead, you and I will steadfastly remain shapers of Summit, and then we will pass its glorious legacy forward. The truth is that Summit will embody a progressively distinct reality and witness 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and surely when we Summitarians reach our 50th anniversary, and guess when? 2038. There's a Zen story of two lost monks happening upon a crone, an archetypal woman of sagacity, and the two asked the one, "Where is the way? The way, the way." And the crone confidently replied, "Straight ahead, straight ahead." So whether rejoicing, scuffling, roaming, mellowing, or dying, we are pressed to move straight ahead. At our recent men's renewal, notice we intentionally call them renewals rather than retreats, we were invited to state our current life mission in a phrase upon a rock that we had selected from the surrounding wilderness. And I inscribed on mine, and it sits on my desk at home, tenderly homeward. Tenderly homeward. We don't know how either we or our institutions will end up, do we? And so the best we can do is heed and practice our core Unitarian Universalist doctrine of semper reformanda, always reforming and being reformed all the way to our graves. And despite our inadequacies and the squabbles as Summitarians, and we'll never outgrow them, it's part of the covenant, part of the life arrangement here, may we keep on reforming toward ever deeper compassion and ever broader respectfulness. Plus, as Wes Nisker, the Buddhist comedian and commentator, puts it, have a nice millennium. And if you don't like the news, go out and make some of your own. Starting this very afternoon. It's time for you and you and you and you and you and me to make some news, some compassionate, joyful news in the forming of an ever more blessed Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. May it come to pass part of the time.
Oh, I don't want to run this race in vain. To guide my feet while I run this race. Now guide my feet while I run this race. Now guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain, race in vain. Hold my hand while I
benediction are words from another supreme poet laureate, Mary Oliver. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against our bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go.
As we close our service, I invite you to stay afterward for a time of community gathering. And I invite you to come back next week. And again, stay tuned to find out whether it will be in person or in Zoom or hybrid or all of the above. Reverend Everett will be back in the pulpit giving his auction sermon. And as you heard from our president, there will be a celebration of Linda Peck and her 20 years being with us and a parking lot party afterwards. So now I invite Reverend Tom to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now let us enjoy our closing circle song.
Together, hand in hand, in fellowship we stand. Before we go, we'll share the flow of standing hand in hand. Together, hand in hand, in fellowship we stand. Through laughter, tears, through hopes and fears, together we shall stand.
And the recording should be stopping soon.